All right. So I'm not going to take you through this again if you're cringing as a kombucha monkey right now, but um, so I don't know about you, but academies, once again, wreaks havoc in our health on the physical level, but Wednesday feels like forever ago. It was just 2 days ago, right? Wednesday, that this slide presentation, the calendar and the schedule, we are literally right here right now. So it's like almost over. Just so if you are feeling kombucha-ish, if you're feeling like the baby, like you might be a little sad, we'll be here afterwards to hang out if you want. The schedule is interesting too. A lot of things changing in real time. No academy has ever been the same. And we added a lot of changes in the academy, including during the academy. The elevator pitches was done for the first time. The choice of workshops is the first time we did it that way. So I don't know if you liked it, didn't like it, but there's a lot of stuff that we iterate every time. The first time we tried the CLA here, which we typically haven't done. And so there's a lot of things done differently, but so this is kind of where it is. But these are the questions people even up to this point will have. Why are you doing this? Especially a company based in New York City. Have you ever met New Yorkers, right? I mean, nothing is done for free. So why the hell are you doing this? And this question of what's it in it for next jump? And I think especially for Meghan and I, the real question is what's in it for you? Because as CEOs, yes, we have shareholders and board members. And I've had 2 board members try to fire me over the years because of academies we run and helping, especially the military thought is just too much giving and don't do it. But like to help you understand why we do this and our personal reasons behind it. So kind of our hidden agendas in many ways, right? Or hopefully it's not as hidden. We had this for over a decade, maybe 15 years or so, saying we have 2 goals in the company. It's a better me goal, a better you goal. One is to build one of the largest companies in the world. And the second is a more audacious goal, which is we want to fix the problems in the world. And a lot of people say it, tech companies say it all the time, to make the world a better place, which is why I built WhatsApp or whatever it might be. But the 2 go hand in hand. People ask us, why don't you write a book on some of this stuff? And we tell them, first, Harvard did write a book, but secondly, like we're not even seeing the halfway point. The stuff is changing so fast and learning so much. So they're just elements of why would people write a book? It's trying to build a megaphone to share, to spread. And one of the things we found was this: there is no platforms more powerful than the business world and succeeding. Success is the single biggest megaphone out there, because when you succeed at this level, and our goal is to become a 50 billion revenue company, not market cap, but revenues. And the reason why this is important is everyone in the world says, what do they do? What's their secret sauce? And that is a better megaphone to create any message you want to send to spread than anything else out there. And so that is why we focus on that better me goal. But the better you goal is interesting because so you'll see the better me, better you side of what comes from where. Most people think it's kind of the better me is more on my side and Meghan maybe more the better you. It's actually totally flipped, and backgrounds will give you a sense of that. But I grew up watching my parents. My mom's a pastor of a church. My father has been trying to end world hunger, and I spent my life surrounded by people in the nonprofit world, people in charitable causes, literally trying to fix the world's problems. And I put my business hat on, and this is going way back 2 decades. If you want to fix problems, you need to know where the resources are. Who has the capital? Who has the talent? Who has the technology? And Fortune 1000 companies, the amount of firepower they have in this field is so massive that if they decided to fix anything in the world and move the needle by 1/8 of an inch, it would be fixed 10 times over, 20 times over. If Google decided we're going to fix ocean, if Amazon decided we're going to fix inequality, like literally they have the firepower to fix these things faster and better than anybody else in the world. But they don't. And we have sat in groups where like I asked them, like, how are you giving so little? Because they're like, who are you? And I was like, we're sitting in the same place because we donated the same amount. Why are you giving so little in relative terms? And this idea of you can't fix the world's problems by having the poor and the nonprofits starving with nothing on their backs doing it. You need to bring the cavalry. And so that's the part where what we saw was this: if you change the way these Fortune 1000 companies run, you will change the way the world works. And when the panel was going on, and Next Jumpers confused us too, the better me, better you, better us is not Next Jump. Everyone thinks it's Next Jump. Us is the world. And people even get the better me, better you confused. They always do the better you, better me. That's a quid pro quo. There's a deliberate reason why me comes first. I mean, every single component is kind of very deliberate here. There was a story last year. If you ever have children or seen this movie, Inside Out, it was a fascinating movie about emotions, right? And everyone represents emotions from joy to sadness and anger. But there was a New York Times article about the experts who were advising the movie producers on what these emotions mean. And in this article, it was talking about the emotion of anger and how anger is seen sometimes as a negative emotion. Don't be angry, calm down. But yet anger is the emotion that, especially the right type of anger, that injects courage, action. And the greatest form of anger is the anger of injustice. When we see injustice, we find, like, literally basketball-sized balls, courage to go do stuff that literally, it's like the mom lifting a car up kind of thing to save the baby, which is a little different kind of emotion, but anger. And so the injustice that I saw early on in my growing up as a kid in our family was what the rich and powerful literally would cost them nothing, would not do to help those doing good. And this phrase you may see, we'll give you shirts that have it. The why we do what we do, to do little things that allow others to do the great things they're meant to do. It's kind of a mouthful, right? But I'll break down kind of what it means. Something is little to you only if you have a lot. This idea that if the cup is full and flowing over, it's little to me. Whether it's capital, whether it's knowledge, whether it's technology, whether it's talent, when you have more and your cup is flowing over, it becomes little to you. The better you isn't a next jumper, it's finding others. It could be next jumpers too. But to be selective, not everyone's equal. Like, for those of you who are here are thinking, how can you do this for everyone? It's because we don't. For every one seat here, we say no at least to 19 people. We are so good at saying no. I have a phrase that every no equals a double yes. But the reality is more like 19 no's equals one yes. We say no so that when we say yes, we can go all in. So you're here because you're on this side of the equation. The number of people, even historically, have even come to Academy saying, I've been trying to get in for 4 years, this and that. They do mean this. They're very good at saying no because it matters who. And finding those right people and letting your cup overflow onto them is the equation of better me plus better you equals better us. Now, this is a picture of my father. I'm the oldest of 3 children. My father is the most famous corn scientist in the world. He's actually in the Encyclopedia Britannica as the father of corn or the father of maize. So it's kind of the son of corn, right? And if you go by first Sea Lord, I'll be the first son of corn because my brother is the second son, but the third child, right? Also, right? But his life mission has been to end world hunger. Since day one, everything. He's been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 5 times. Never won, and I don't believe he'll ever win, actually. I'll explain you why. But I grew up as the oldest kid, and I was a carbon copy of my dad. The whole car with the potential versus the impediments. My impediments were exactly like my father. Talks too fast, has a stutter, and cannot present at all. And most people don't believe me, but Greg went to high school with me, and he can tell you what I was like in high school. Can't understand what Charlie says. I still talk fast, but I talk even faster with the stutter and didn't know how to present at all. Every analogy I used was horrible. And I grew up as the oldest child watching my father trying to end world hunger. And I'll give you just the memories I have. So we lived in Nigeria, in Africa, for 17 years. That's kind of more home to me than anything else. And I grew up there. I went there when I was 6. And as the oldest child, if you ever have a father or a parent who's a scientist, they crank out white papers like crazy. And my father did that too. And I went to boarding school, all financial aid. So when I come home, Christmas break, I'm 14 years old, December 24th, 5 a.m., I'm sitting in my father's office because the task I had was to help correct the grammar in his white papers. Welcome home, Christmas break. Here's 800 pages of technical scientific corn literature I need to publish, and I need you to correct the and if the, and it was painful, right? But this is literally, that was my life. And I remember so vividly in Christmas Eve, sitting in his desk, reading through this. And there's a one-page article, so I pick it up and read about it. Talks about how Dr. Kim is one of the greatest scientists the world's ever seen. And in fact, what he has discovered in his technology could end world hunger. But by the end of the first page, it says, but it will never happen because he can't present his work. He can't present his work between the writing and presentation, all awful. And my worst grades were in presentation and English and whatnot. And like, I was the exact same. But I try to help. But I couldn't help him. And I watched the pain of people who tried to take advantage of it. People would say, I will help you edit and write a better Nobel Prize application, which will probably help you win. But since I do that and you need me to win, you need me to get half the credit for your 30 years of research. And he said, no way, every time. And in many ways, maybe he should have just said yes, but he always said no. And I watched that pain. I watched him begging for people for so little money to go and just do such a tiny thing. And my parents, when I send them money, it's gone before it hits their bank account. Like they're just giving away and looking for every which cause to go help and do. And so this is how I grew up. And I read the article and it's just kind of my reality at 14. So 10 years goes by, I had built Next Jump, turned 24. It's amazing how certain things kind of hit you at certain windows. Oh yes. So same thing happened. Sorry, like Meghan knows my story better than me. It's been a long week, a long 3 days, but so what ends up happening is, how certain things just happen in weird ways. But as I try to build Next Jump, and I'm pitching to investors, I ended up pitching to 1,000 people, 100 of who's what people invested personally, put $45 million in over the years. Amazing individuals, right? Billionaires and I mean, just C-level individuals. And I remember one day walking into the office and my stutter had disappeared. And I was like, how the hell is that even possible? And I wasn't even trying, but I was fighting to keep my baby Next Jump alive, fundraising. And through the act of that 10,000 hours over practice, it literally disappeared. I remember having that spiritual moment of like, maybe I should like go and try to help my dad win the Nobel Prize and end world hunger versus try to become a tech millionaire, right? And I'm going through this thought, right? But then, something right then, like 9/11 occurs. We go through trouble for a whole year. I'm cutting down from 150 employees to 4 people, right? Me, Meghan, Tom, who's in Boston right now, but usually here, and Kevin, who runs London. They're still with us. And we get down to 4 people. We have negative bank balance. We have 9 months of unpaid rent, 6 eviction notices. I'm on the phone every Friday begging people not to force us into bankruptcy. I mean, I have 60 days every day coming with a bloody nose. I had tissue up both nostrils most days. And I didn't understand like how I hit my nose again, but it was just bleed like every day, bloody nose, 60 days in a row. And I learned like how strong human beings are. You don't die. It's crazy. You just keep going as a company, as an individual, fight through. And so right as I kind of lose my stutter thinking my presentation skills are getting better and whatnot, help my dad, like my baby's dying, so I can't leave. So I kind of forget about the fact that I suddenly fixed my impediments or whatnot and just keep running Next Jump, building it back up. 10 more years goes by, I turned 34. I'm 46 now, turning 47, but I turned 34. And up to that point, we always had we want to be the best place to work. So we want to grab the talent, hoard the information, not share knowledge. And that was kind of like sort of the way most companies run, right? I want to be the best and not share everyone the good stuff, right? I turned 34. I get a phone call that my father had a stroke. My father used to always say, winning the Nobel Prize, the reason why he wants it, it's a megaphone. It would take my discovery and it would amplify it across the world. It would end world hunger. But that day, it didn't feel like it'll be a megaphone because that same month, I met this billionaire who said the most profound thing. And people who crush your life in the most interesting time period just can influence your thinking. And he said, Charlie, I don't believe in buying art from living artists. I only buy art from those who are alive that I believe have the potential to be great. I believe in putting my firepower behind them. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. That my father, who didn't get the help from the billionaires and all the people out there, no longer had the strength and the energy where this Nobel Prize, if you want it, would not be an amplifier, but would be a trophy on our mantle. And that was very tough for me to see. And this is something that I had written on my wall and kept it, where in 2004, I felt like my kind of purpose and goal was complete the mission, which was really help my dad finish his work of ending world hunger. But then shortly after, I changed it to say, find people like him. Be selective, identify them, and literally empower them to figure out the world's problems. Not one person, but find them. And there's micro versions of them everywhere. And then I shortened it to empower and help the world's best. Then in 2011, I met a guy named Simon Sinek. We're supposed to meet for 30 minutes, turned out to be a 5-hour meeting. We became close afterwards. And he heard my story and said, Charlie, I think what you're trying to do is do the little things that allow others to the great things they're meant to do. And that's how our why came about. And that's how we translate it to better me, better you, better us. It's the exact same thing. It was just easier to remember better me, better you, better us. But you know, what's interesting is this. If you think about imbalances and this notion of giving, most of us will say, I'm going to earn. And when I have a lot of money, I'm going to give. And I've had the fortune of spending a lot of time with billionaires who have made so much money. And you know what they've said to me? I don't know how to give, which is why I don't give a lot yet. And I was like, you motherfucker. I cannot believe you could utter words like that. Like, I need training to give is literally what and my mom's a pastor of a church. And there's this parable about the beggar who drops in 2 copper coins. And she's like, he's giving more than, and literally I was like, oh my God. And I've heard this from multiple billionaires. But something I learned that's fascinating, and I love this phrase, someone tweeted this at me and said, this reminds me of Charlie Kim and Next Jump. You can do more good if you're profitable and make more profit because you're good. But sequence matters. This is my dad. He was just trying to do more good. This is most companies and most of the Fortune 1000. They're just going to make more profit. And at some point, it's just a race of, I want to be worth more than them and more trillion-dollar valuations and whatnot. And the connection between the two was kind of key. And, you know, I didn't understand that. I ran Next Jump just like my dad. I mean, I almost bankrupted this company so many times. And board members thought I was not running a business. And they had every right to fire me for not taking care of shareholders and everybody else. And, you know, the person who taught me that you got to be selfish before you can be selfless is actually Meghan. And before Meghan became co-CEO, literally 6 times, I almost sunk this company. And she was always the one who said, I think you're stretching, doing too much. We ran too many academies. I want to run even more. And she always felt bad because she was being selfish. And I watched my parents sink themselves. So this is just a few years ago. Korea had this scandal. I don't know if the US will go through this, but Korea had the scandal. The president got impeached. And so they had this midterm election. And my father decides that he's going to run to be president. And he felt that it's a megaphone to go, and he's frustrated, do the things he wants. And I'm trying to send him money because he needs funds to be able to register and run. And I literally sent it to him, but because he had it 1 day late, he couldn't qualify to run. And so this is him protesting that of the broken system, and literally just let him spend the money to run to be president. And just in the campaign. And this was him alone in the rain. And it was in the Korean papers, basically mocking him, of him solo, trying to make a difference. But there's nobody there but him. And this, like, I mean, I have this image. was in the papers and stuff. This is the way my parents always ran. Their intention's so good, but they're not taking care of themselves. They're not taking care of their teams. And you can't go far trying to do good if you don't take care of yourself. If you don't take care of your team. And that is exactly how I ran Next Jump until Meghan helped me. So.
It's really hard to top this. Let's see. Okay. All right. Okay. I don't have any bridge to that because I'm still processing that because it does change every time a little bit, our stories. This journey is truly is a journey. You guys went through your leadership journeys, or a lot of you did, but you'll notice it'll just keep evolving and things hit you different ways. I'll share with you my journey. And by the way, the purpose side, the giving side, you're going to see it. This is people think like he's the guy who's going to make the money. The ruthless side, like no, it's not the case. The giving, I think you can see, is comes from Charlie, and I've had a very hard time with that. The selfish side, where I'm like, we have to make money, the fuel, but recognizing that is you need the fuel so you can give responsibly. Anyway, so this is I'll give you my quick journey. This is my family. I have a twin sister, so she's on your left, Erin. Yeah. It's about 10 years ago. It's my twin. So I grew up in Massachusetts, Cape Cod, really small town, tiny little town called Sandwich, really blue collar. My dad worked for Verizon for 37 years, climbing telephone poles. My mom was a nurse for a little while, got into Tufts Dental Medical, decided to one of the best dental programs in the country, and turned it down. Stay-at-home mom, amazing mom, still is, but gave up her whole career to take care of my sister and I. And so actually in my lanyard, it's like a reminder for me, all the sacrifices she made. So I wasn't going to share all this with the story. My sister, super smart. So one of the biggest challenges I had growing up is being twins. I don't know if anybody in here is a twin, especially identical. It's really hard to not feel inferior when you have a twin sister who's smarter than you, who just gets better grades. I mean, A. And it really got me in my head. Talk about staying in your own lane. It just could not. Went to college, stayed in my own lane. It was awesome. Did really well. Anyways, end up at Next. So let me share my family now, and I'll go into my journey a little bit. My husband is on your left, Mark. My little guy, Brendan, is wearing the Yankee jersey, which I'm from Massachusetts, so painful. Long story. My husband's from New Jersey, so it's like, if we have girls, they'll be Red Sox fans. If we have boys, they'll be Yankee fans. And I had two boys, so I lost. We're still trying to keep them to be Patriots fans, though, because, and then Matthew is all the way to your right, so he just turned 10. And I'll kind of come back to my little guy, Brendan, in a minute, part of my challenge. Okay, so I mapped out my journey. It's still a little rough in terms of this process. I shared this a little bit in the last academy. I'm still working through it, but I'll just give you a quick sense. So 1998, started as a local sales intern. We used to be a print business. I don't know if anybody knew that. Before our commerce business moved online, it was like before the internet was really a thing. We had a print business with coupons in the back, and I did local sales. So in Boston, it was super hot that summers. It was just really grueling work. And like, that's how I was raised. I was a maid for 8 years, when I think it wasn't even legal for my sister and I to be working, but we worked at a motel on Cape Cod. Anyways, we had like 3 jobs every summer. It was like super hardworking, blue collar. So I get the job at Next Jump, 98. I come back on board, 99 full time, but we crashed down to 4 of us. I think you've heard the story right after 9/11. You were asking why I stayed. I was trying to unpack this a little bit. Maybe it's fascinating to me. It was one of the things I remembered Charlie did. I had actually applied for another job because my sister was like, "What are you doing? Get the hell out of this company." And my mother was like, "Meghan, it seems like you're, just kind of like, I don't know, maybe this," so it was very conflicting advice what to do. I applied for a few jobs. I got an interview right down the street, actually, from where we used to be. And then literally, lo and behold, Charlie comes out of his office one day and asks, I think it was maybe 6 of us at the time, then it chopped to the 4, but he was like, "Can you guys just give me 2 weeks of your undivided attention? I know a lot of you are looking for jobs right now, but there's no way this is going to work. Could you just give me 2 weeks? Can you give me," and I remember him asking, "Can you just give me your undivided 2 weeks? It's the only way we're going to have a shot to make this work." And I called the other organization. I'm like, "I can't make the interview." And I stayed for those 2 weeks. I honestly think it's just lucky, really. When I look back on it, I'm like, it was just, and I remember thinking, well, I have nothing to lose really in many ways for a few weeks. Just hold on. But it's fascinating. He asked us to do that. And part of me was like, I need to find a job. We have no money. But, it was 2 weeks. So, and in those 2 weeks, we, hauled ass. But fascinating. So anyways, in 2004, I was promoted to run our merchant business. So we were growing at the time, our merchant sales business. Again, this is for our core business and commerce. So I started to learn a lot. Charlie was teaching me a lot in sales. I started to run a very small team as we were growing. And it kind of propelled this process of growth and learning. And I wrote here, scary Charlie. Scary Charlie. Charlie's a different Charlie now in terms of his critical feedback. It's truth said well in many times, and it can cut, but it was like truth said badly, really critical. And the inferior twin here, I mean, I was already, the imposter syndrome I feel like was built for me. It may as well have my name in the encyclopedia, imposter syndrome, inferiority complex, all of it. And then I meet Charlie, who just is like just brutal with his honesty. And I really struggle with that. And especially in these growth years. So I was just hitting rock bottom in this kind of 2004 to 2008. We were hiring people who had 10, 20 plus years experience on me coming from these huge organizations. And Charlie was like, you're going to run this team. And I remember thinking, I wrote, I wanted to opt out. I didn't want to be the head of this. I was doing this job, but in many ways I knew it was over my head. I was over my head. I was working crazy hours. I was stressed all the time. I think I cried every weekend. I was like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. And I tried to opt out. So I told Charlie, I will kill it for whoever you hire to run this department. I will work so hard for them. I'll be their top salesperson. Seriously, let me out, right? Let me work for them. So very, very creative process. Charlie said, you know what? Fine. You're so sick of trying to convince me that I could do it. Had the people who were coming in for interviews, he made me interview them. So literally these people who had 10, 20 plus years experience sitting in my office, I'm interviewing them. Then he pulls them into his office and his question for them is, tell me about Meghan. Okay. Very creative. Then calls me in. I want to tell you what they said about you. Okay. So insecure Meghan goes from, this is, I think the last academy, somebody gave me a call sign because I think it's like the coolest thing that the military does, these call signs. I turned into a beast. I was pissed. One guy says, Meghan looks frazzled. She looks overwhelmed. She's frazzled. And this was in the growth years. I mean, we were signing, if I didn't sign multiple contracts in a week, it was like, I was working my fucking ass off, right? A whole team of people scurrying for deals. My response was, of course I'm frazzled and stressed out and overwhelmed. I'm paying all the bills. And if it wasn't for me, nobody would be getting paid. Like, I completely lost it. I had a massive tantrum in his office. Like, how dare this person come in and think that he can do this job better? And it was all he's, right? I was like, I was so pissed off because they all were coming in and just ripping me apart in terms of how overwhelmed I look. Of course I am. So that's when my beast mode, so they nickname me Beast, best end of a strong team or something like that. Anyways, it was cool. But I completely lost it. And I'm Italian. My maiden name is Lombardi. So there was a lot of anger in here too. Trust me, I have plenty of it. I'm just, and I have a lot of confidence. It's just I'm in the 49% confidence, 51% insecurity, right? Or humility. So anyway, so that was like a huge breaking point for me in 2008. I became our chief of staff. In 2009, I had my first son, Matthew. Matthew was born with some challenges, he was born a few months early, had a really hard time with that, born without his left ear, has nerve damage in his face. He's just got a lot of different challenges. And it's amazing how many times I was told he wasn't going to be developmentally okay. I mean, he struggles in school, just like any other kid, but he's as normal and as happy as any other kid. And then let's see. So then I have Brendan in 2012 he's my 7-year-old now. And a few things on that. Oh, actually, sorry, let me back up on my tombstone. This is fascinating. So Jim Lear is a performance coach at HBI in Florida. After I had Matthew, I was struggling about coming back to work. I did think, I'm supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. I've got to be home and take care of Matthew. And can I really go back to work and do both? And anyways, Jim Lear, who was Charlie, a huge favor, asked him to coach me. He never does this. He does 2.5-day courses. You have to be in the course. And he coaches the best world athletes, corporate athletes, amazing guy. And Charlie begged him, could you meet with Meghan and Tom, our head of engineering, separately, one-on-one? And so I went down and I remember he asked me this question of, is morbid, right? But what do you want it to say on your tombstone? And my intuition right then and there was, I wanted to say, and it seems generic, but I said I wanted to say she was a great mom, she was a great wife, and she was a great leader. Like, I want all of that. And he looked at me, he's like, that's going to be tough, right? And then he was challenging me, what if it says great mom, great leader, but not a great wife? And I said, no, like, how do you, and he just kept trying to challenge me. And finally he was like, I think it's awesome, right? Like, if you could figure out how to do that, this is their nirvana, that you could do all of that. And he said, if there's a place that you're going to figure that out, it's going to be next jump, right? Talk to Charlie about this. And I came back, and awesome. Charlie helped me figure out, I have a ton of, I wasn't going to spend too much time on this, but a ton of programs and the work-life balance stuff and raising kids and the little rituals, if you set up during the week, the littlest things that can make a huge difference. Bath time program, Sweet 16, a ton of stuff. I'm not going to go into it all, but we want to teach a whole course on this. I'd love to run a whole academy on this. There's like so much in there that we've been sharing with the Navy too. It's like some really cool stuff in there, but I learned a lot. We built this flow model. This whole idea of a coach, captain, right hand, left hand came because after I had my second baby, I live right next door here so that I don't have to commute and everything. And I was on maternity leave with Brendan, and I asked Charlie, come out, take a walk during lunch so I can chat with him while I'm pushing I was a complete mess, but it's okay. And then I asked him, isn't Brent, I thought literally Brendan was the most beautiful baby in the world. I'm like, isn't he beautiful? Because Matthew, when he was born, struggled a little. And he was born so early, just looked like an alien, right? So I'm like, isn't Brendan beautiful, right? And he was like, I think all babies look like aliens, or whatever he said. And that's when I was like, and that's what I said to him. I'm like, you don't always have to give truth. Like, that is not truth that you need to share. You just say you say to somebody that their baby is beautiful no matter what. There's a time to LHF. So I'll throw you under the bus too because of the last sessions. Found a way to get you back a little bit. Anyway, so I said I wanted to work part-time, and I was like terrified to ask him because this is when we were working, we were working a lot. And we still work a lot, but like it was a different day. So I said, I want to work part-time. And he was like, oh my God, okay. He's like, so you mean like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, half days? And I was like, no, I mean, like, can I just maybe Friday afternoon take off like a half day so I can go pick up Matthew in preschool, see the baby? Like I didn't, but he said, we're going to have to figure out how to create more leaders. It was like the idea of the constraint. We are going to be constrained because I don't want to be running this business without you. So how do we create more leaders? And that model of, we will be the coaches. And he said, we're going to have to be the coaches of everything and own nothing, in the sense of, we're not going to captain and do anything. We're going to coach. This is the idea of building the A's, the master coaches. So that started back in 2012. 2016, I became the co-CEO. It was a really humbling moment. I know Charlie still have like I don't know. Anyways, Harvard book comes out, the DDO book that we're in, huge high, right? 2016 was awesome. It was like, I put it up here because it was a really big year for me personally, for the company. And then right after that, in 2017, is when Brendan, my youngest one, was in preschool, in pre-K. He is struggling. This is kind of like the recent, I put picture of Brendan here. God, he's a challenge. This is a big part of why Coach Mackey, some of you might have met, the basketball program we have Jing in the after school program. The resources that this organization has put behind helping Brendan is ridiculous. Sorry, I'm crying. And I know in the Navy and the military, it's so much harder because I'm not moving all the time. I'm right here, and I have so many resources helping me, and it's so hard. I have such a hard time with this kid. He drives me crazy. I love him. He's like the cutest thing in the world. He's a fucking pain in the ass. He's so stubborn. He's very similar to me. He's so stubborn. And talk about when you think about somebody who can't stay in their own lane. This kid cannot stay in his own lane. He is observing. He's so hyper aware of what people think of him. It's just to such an extreme. And the biggest challenge I'm having now, and it's fascinating because we're thinking about this a lot, talking about it a lot with our A leaders. The thing that kind of got me to where I am, and I used to feel like I'm just lucky. We just said, when you don't believe it, I wrote down, when you don't believe in yourself, you can't believe in others. I've had a really hard time believing in myself. Like, how did I get to this position? Like, I don't feel worthy, especially the reporter, the editor. Like, I struggle with that. Like, I don't feel worthy. Sometimes I'm like, fuck, it's just going over my head, but it's different. Like, I have a different strength. But and there's days, honestly, I think like this company couldn't run without me, without question. I have that, right? I have like, what does everybody else do? You know, I don't. It's not that I don't have enough confidence. It's just I really struggle with feeling worthy that I earned this position and that I'm smart enough to do this job, and it's a huge responsibility. But because I think the challenge is I don't have as much faith in myself, like that. I have that fuzzy good in myself. So I have a really fuzzy good in Brendan, which I feel a lot of shame because you pick up the negative data points in people and the confirmation bias. Like I can see the bad in him so fast. And it actually pisses me off when people try to take me off course. Like he's going to be fine. I don't want to fucking hear that because nobody else has to live with the consequences. I'm his mother and I feel so much responsibility to make sure he's okay. That number of times they've tried to kick him out of school. He's at a private school. I went to public school. I think public schools I wanted to send them there, but in New York City, they're just really bad. And especially in the zone I'm in, I didn't want to move because it works right here. And, so I have him in a private school and it's hard. It's a very hard school, to keep hearing from the school every few months. He repeated kindergarten and he's still behind, and that school's hard for Brendan and it always will be, is what I'm told. So everybody says, well, then move schools. And I'm like, I'm not going to move schools yet. When it's right, it's right. If I have to, I have to. But I am so determined on this school program that we're building, even this after school program, because there has to be a way. Like, I just don't buy it that, that's not the right place for him. It's like, well, not everybody can do it here. I'm so sick of it. And yet I really struggle because there's, many days I want to say to the principal, who I've been in that office so many freaking times, you're right, he can't do it, right? He should be in a different school. But I'm trying to, it's like I try to channel Charlie's confidence and his belief and faith in people and their potential when I'm in these sessions without him. I'm like, what would Charlie say? But I don't have enough of it myself. It's such a struggle. I love him to death. He's like adorable. Where it's not that. It's just I see the bad in him and the potential. I don't really believe he's going to get out of this funk. Like, I don't really believe he's going to be at the head of the class someday or even in the middle. I just want him to not be at the bottom. And when you just want somebody not to be at the bottom, they're never going to get to the top, right? And that's all the learning we're doing at Next Jump on the adult side. Like, sometimes why I'm quiet in a lot of the sessions, I'm translating what we're saying for the adults to Brendan, and it puts me in my head because I'm like, shit, like I'm doing that. I might do that to Laura, works for me, or I do that to Brendan. Oh my God, but I don't do that for myself. Like I don't fully believe in myself, but I can really go to the bad, what I don't want, that C state worksheet for some of you that were in our session. I can very quickly go, what do I not want? And it motivates me, the fear and the urgency to act. And that negative, I can go there very quickly. But to be a good coach, I need the other side. I need to believe in him and the faith in him and the potential, so that I don't coddle him and all these things. So I'm still going through all this, but this is my challenge right now. This is kind of the cliff that I'm on. And I don't know if we see you guys again. If you come to another academy, you'll find out maybe how that's going. But yeah, I feel a lot of gratitude for how much Next Jump's believed in me, and I got to figure out how to translate that to believe in Brendan and get him there. So it's obviously very important to me, and building this kind of culture into other companies where, Next Jump takes care of me and my kids so that I can give my all. I mean, this is the thing that cripples me when I'm not effective at work. It's because I'm worried about Brendan. So, which I know is a common challenge. So anyways, I thought I would share this. This is the journey. And I'll hand it back over to Charlie.
I love this phrase that taking care of your people is taking care of the business. If you do the better me right, you can do the better you much better. Someone asked about the collateral duties, right? And I think John Wainwright on the phone, and we're saying you have to do it yourself. So, our collateral duty, we always have kind of a North Star and then what's happening in reality. So our collateral duty, and it sounds kind of crazy, but it's to fix education. And we mean it like at a global level. And we have more experts teamed in with us to help drive towards that. But that's the bigger North Star. The reality of what we're starting with is our own kids club. And we fight. We fight on Brendan and the kids club and what's happening and the choices we have to make. And that collateral duty makes us better for the revenue side. It makes us better for the bigger mission we have, which is to change the world through changing companies, Fortune 1000, how they run. And that's what we mean by collateral duty. You can turn any collateral duty into your training ground, but you have to stress yourself. The change education public schools obviously is big, but that's our side project. But it starts with showing traction. And we have, whether it's Mackie, who you may have met, I mean, we have the best of the best working with us, not only help the proof here, but then to take all the methodologies going out. We've talked with the heads of Air Force and Navy of helping change programs and after school programs within military bases. I mean, all kinds of things happening in parallel. Bill Campbell, I mentioned before, so he passed away in 2016. And, you know, there was a piece by him. This person talked about how I'm struck by how brilliantly Bill Campbell anticipated the evidence. He was living theories in the 1980s that experts didn't even develop, let alone validate, until decades later. And it became obvious to me that almost everything great in the company happened in teams. Not individuals, but in teams. And that was my pitch in the talk. Start treating teams, not individuals, as the fundamental building block of the organization. That TP, a team of two, is the most basic economic unit of an organization. And if you get that right, great things show up. And so I love this. And what's happened is this. It's no longer the age of a solo star player, but it is the age, the 100-year century that's coming up of teams. And you'll see this in almost every sport. In basketball, Mackie says, I love it. He says that when you meet a team of 5 that plays as one, no great star can beat them. That's the power of team. When you find even a team of 2 like us playing as one, I don't care how big you are, we will win. And that's the strength of team versus solo. I don't know if some of you have seen this video, but I want to share this because I was just writing down, you know, it's 2020, January. This is the first Leadership Academy of 2020. You are the first set of leaders, and I hope we had some impact in trying to help and share. And we have been waiting for 2020 in one hand because we knew the tide would turn if history repeats or rhymes, where companies and the way they run, which is better me, better me, better me, would break apart. Talent will leave them if they don't have purpose and if they don't do good. And they will bet with their own talent by walking out, not working. And you look at walkouts and protests, and even companies like Google are going crazy because they can't seem to control these people who they give so much to, and money and equity and perks. Like, this is a time where, and I see it in every organization, in the Royal Navy, Navy, all the groups, you are no longer in control. The talent is, and you're trying to figure out how to attract them, how to retain them. And the better me, better you is the way you do it. And you have to do it in a balanced way. And the stronger you get, you gotta let your cup flow over, not into the pockets of the board or executives or stockholders, but back into something substantial. And that trade-off, and we've been working for 13 years, helping and giving, trying to create a movement. And this little video, just an illustration, and the way movement starts, a great TED Talk, just about movements. And rather than taking it per chance, because the first person that's here dancing here was us, and everyone called us a freak. Everyone made fun of us, and we got criticized and still do nonstop. But it's amazing the power of the first follower. And you have to lay out the steps, the sequences and whatnot, so it's easy enough to follow. And once you get that, what happens literally is a movement. And we spent time picking the Navy, not to stop at the Navy, but to create a movement. And so, first Academy in 2020, you're here because I hope you'll join us in a movement. But let me play the video real quick.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is over-glorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
Almost out of beer and really unhealthy food.
So I love movies. This is one of my favorite movies, Shawshank Redemption. I don't know if you remember this part. I figure I'm kind of halfway in kind of my life. There's an end of the movie, right? Brooks was here and then so was Red. This is sort of.
On there.
So that's our story.
Yeah.